We're live. I finally got the sound right and I set everything up. It looks like I'm ready, as YouTube says. So now I'm streaming. How's everybody doing? When you join the chat, we'll start talking. I'm just going to play some guitar. I just want to talk about experiences today. Any of you have spiritual experiences? Life experiences? Concurrent viewers? None right now. We have an excellent connection. This is my new computer. If you've looked at my videos before, or if you know me, or if you've been following me, I just bought this new, just a few videos ago, I did the Ryzen computer box opening. And I bought a Ryzen computer with a NVIDIA GTX dedicated video card. And that's what we're using for this video. So this should be really awesome. I should not have any sound delay. And I've been trying it out today. It took me about 2 hours to get everything set up with the right sound and plugs and jacks. And getting used to this new computer and getting my live stream set up. Every time I set it up, something was wrong with my live stream, like the sound wasn't working, or I didn't have my headphones plugged in, or I had the volume monitor on a preview screen that was delaying over my other sound, and or if I played a video, if I go to scene 2, like if I'm watching right now, we're on scene 1, so you just see me. If I switch to scene 2, you're going to see me in the bottom left corner, and then whatever I'm looking at come up. Like I've just pulled up this Sammy Hagar video and I was
experience not
watching
being
this. So
with
now
Sam.
if
Our
you
big
hear
claim to fame
that,
is that we spent like
I have to
maybe
put in
10
the
days apart
headphones because if
max
sound comes out of my speakers,
in
it will
14
echo.
years.
So I can hear what they're doing now. I can hear what you're hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. I just pulled up that video as a sample. So now if I go back and I want to go to scene 1 where it's just me, then I can talk and I don't have to hear anything else. And if I need to, I put the headphones back in. But now I can go back and see your chat. I have one viewer. Hello, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about spiritual experiences, out-of-body experiences, astral travel, meditation, maybe near-death experiences. Some of you have had near-death experiences with trauma or accidents or during surgery or drowning. Or we're going to talk about the other world that exists that some people deny, that say it doesn't exist, but some of us have been there and we know it exists. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Whoever's the concurrent viewer, if you can chat and say hi, let me know who you are. I don't see, it must be a YouTube team member. One viewer, it's okay. We're just getting started. I just uploaded a video yesterday where I played Rolling Stone Satisfaction. Did you see that one? This is the bass line. Then the guitar comes in. driving in my car, and a man comes on the radio, and he's telling me more and more about some useless information, supposed to fire my imagination. I can't get no. Hey, 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 that's what I say. Hey, 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 that's what I say. I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no early action. I try and I try and I try and I try. I can't get no. I can't get me no. I can't get no. No, no, no. Hey, hey, hey. That's what I say. When I'm watching my TV, and a man comes on and tells me how white my shirts can be. But he can't be a man because he doesn't smoke the same cigarettes as me. I can't get no, 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 no. Hey, 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 that's what I say. Hey, 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 that's what I say. I say, what I say, is what I say. And when I'm flying around the world, and I'm signing this and I'm doing that, and I'm trying to make some girl who tell me, baby, better come back maybe next week, 'cause you see I'm on a losing streak. I can't get no, 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 no. Well, guys, you know, one thing that happened yesterday, I got demonetized. I guess talking to my concurrent viewer here, that I'm assuming his YouTube team. I want to make videos now about spiritual experiences and my business travel experiences, and I want to be a storyteller. I'm going to talk less about conspiracies and hidden facts and secrets and things like that, and sensitive subjects that are not acceptable on YouTube as a platform, and don't get anywhere as far as views either, and don't get much promotion in the algorithm. And I'm here to learn how to make videos and produce things that people will watch, and I'm also here to make money and make a secondary income to my other work that I do as an entrepreneur. So I'm trying to get it going, and I want to make it work. So I'm all about music and life experiences and storytelling. And I like to tell stories. I've been all around the world. I've got millions of miles on airlines, probably 5 or 6 million miles on airlines. I've had 4 passports that are together about this thick. Been to about 60 or 70 countries. And I always worked in life science and health, animal health, and human neurosurgery, spine surgery, brain surgery. And I've worked in immunology, and I've sold vaccines worldwide in the largest vaccine company in the world, Eli Lilly's animal health division, Elanco. My office was in the lab. I was taught by pathologists, but there are subjects I can't really talk about. I can't comment about, I moved my contact. I can't talk about vaccines. I may have some expertise, but I can't share what I know. Because if it happens to go against anything that's written anywhere by certain leadership authorities, it's not acceptable. even though I might just know what I'm talking about. It's just not acceptable. So I will stop. I don't have to talk about those things. I'd rather talk about music and life experiences and meeting God and doing other things, you know. A lot of people like those subjects. People like to talk about paranormal experiences, out-of-body experiences, astral travel, consciousness, near death. Did I say that already? Even negative experiences. You know, some people have UFO encounters. They've seen aliens. People claim to have been on board the craft. And been called by them outside of your bedroom window, as I was. I have a story, and which is odd because my mother remembers it too. I'll share that one. I already have a couple of videos about that where I interview my mother actually, and we talk about it. But those views got nowhere. You know, I got like maybe 50 something, 80 views on one of them. One of them has maybe. The second time I talked to her on my cell phone camera at her place, I think I have 100 views. You know, I put up these, what I think are amazing videos about these topics, and I just don't get views. It's like I'm throttled back. And I've noticed, I stopped producing videos from December until March, I think it was, for 3 months. And my views go to 50 views a day. It doesn't matter how many views, how many videos I upload. I'll have some videos that I upload, like I did one about my near-death experience when I drowned. And I think today that has like 803, 807 views. And I just put it up like a month and a half, 2 months ago, right before I got this new webcam and my whole new computer. This is my whole new studio. I'm in a different room. I have a different background. I have different lighting. I've got some professional help from a friend of mine that works in the military with lighting. I've got my new camera with my new computer with a quad-core processor, a Ryzen with the GTX NVIDIA card dedicated now. Got my new 1080p webcam. I've improved my quality a lot. And hopefully that gets more views and more subscribers, because I would like to, my goal is to get to at least 10,000 subscribers so that I can start with merchandise. I would like to make t-shirts and cups and mugs. And it's not as much about making the money as it is as establishing myself as a YouTuber with the presence, with cups and mugs, and that would just be fun. And I think it would be fun to design them and have people wear them or use them. And I play a lot of music. I'm a street busker. You know, I started playing classical guitar. I actually met this guy. This is Andres Segovia, the most prolific classical guitarist of the century, who died in the late 70s, and I met him in 1972 in Houston, downtown. But as soon as someone comes in the chat or people start commenting, I don't know, I'm going to have to be noticed on the browsing features on YouTube so that people know I'm live right now, and they will come into the broadcast and come in and chat, and I'll say hello, and we'll start talking about a subject. Until then, I'll just ramble on and keep playing music. Ramble on! Let's see. We passed upon a storm. The smoker wasn't well, although I wasn't there. He said I was his friend, which came as a surprise. I gazed into his eyes, I thought you died alone, a long, long time ago. Oh no, not me, I never lost control. Your face to face with the man who sold the world. shook his hand. I made my way back home. I searched from former land, longing for our own. I gazed againstly stare at all the millions there. I thought we died alone a long, long time ago. Oh no, not us. We never lost control. Your face to face with the man who sold the world. Now what? Still one person here. I can't help about the shape I'm in. I can't sing, I ain't pretty, and my legs are thin. Don't ask me what I think of you. I might not give the answer that you want me to. How about some Hendrix? Oops, I forgot it. There's a red house over yonder. That's where my baby stays. Yeah, there's a red house over yonder. And that's where my baby stays. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen my baby. It's been 99 and one half day. Yeah, it has. Wait a minute, something wrong here. My key won't unlock this door. Yeah, wait a minute, something's wrong. My key won't unlock this door. Oops. Just completely effed it up there. I like my new computer. It's going well. The tests that I did, I didn't lose any frames. I got to balance the sound. I set up OBS without any problems. I was using a laptop. Still got my laptop going as a secondary resource, but this is awesome. To have a nice gaming computer, even though I'm not a gamer, I got a gaming computer, super fast gaming computer with a dedicated NVIDIA card just for live streaming on YouTube. And it's also going to speed up my editing process when I start getting into editing and making some fine movie productions, not just direct broadcast and record. And, you know, when I really start to edit, the quality is going to be so good. And with my I got the new webcam, I've got new lighting, my new computer, all in the last month. And moved to a different room in my house. It's a completely dedicated studio now. And if you turn it around, I've got a couch and other things here where I can actually interview people or do other things in the room. Like when I did my box opening video, when I opened the computer, I did it on the couch, and all I have to do is turn my cameras around and face my lighting the other direction. So I'm getting more professional. So my goal is to become a filmer and a videographer and a YouTuber. Even though my background is I'm an economist, I have a bachelor's degree in economics from Brigham Young University, which at the time I graduated was second in the nation to Yale University for my major. I graduated from the Marriott School of Business at Brigham Young University with a 3.3 grade point average, which is an A minus, which means it's pretty good. And I was married and had one child when I got married, when I graduated. Then from there, I went to a school called Thunderbird, which today is the Graduate Business School of Arizona State University, which at the time was the #1 master's program in the world, including schools in Israel and Spain and where else? India and Germany and a couple of other schools in the United States. I was at the #1 program. It's called Thunderbird, the American Graduate School of International Management, which is now the Graduate Business School of ASU. So I went from the Marriott School of Management to the Thunderbird School of Management and learned Portuguese, and I'm already fluent in Spanish. And after that, in business, while I was traveling, when I managed Europe, I learned 3 more languages while I traveled on airplanes and hotels, and I learned German, French, and Italian. When I lived in New Jersey and I worked for the vaccine lab, I had a guy that went to my church that just happened to package his job. He had his own company and he had a factory with machinery. And he packaged Berlitz. You know, it used to be, now they have Rosetta Stone, the language course you can buy, which is Rosetta Stone, which is the popular one to learn a language. It used to be Berlitz. And Berlitz had these cassette tapes. This was back in the 90s. And one day he showed up at church and he handed me, he packaged and vacuum wrapped the Berlitz tape packages that people bought to learn languages. And he had all the languages piled up on pallets in his shop. And he gave me German, Italian, and French. And I've still got those. I gave my son my German. I think I've still got the Italian and the French, but I don't think I have a cassette player now. But I've learned them and I've used them. I would set up a trip to Europe, and I would be going to Brussels, and then I would go to like Geneva, Switzerland, and other places in France. So I'd be going to 3 countries, all French-speaking areas, and I would listen to French in my truck on the way to work and on the planes and in the hotels, and I got proficient in all these languages, and then I would go directly to using them. It's fun when you learn a language, and your job lets you travel every month, and you can pick the countries you want to go to. And my job used to be, I would observe disease outbreaks in animals and chickens and respiratory syndromes. And I actually studied coronaviruses and was looking at them under microscopes. You know how they're named? If you look at a coronavirus under a microscope, they actually exist. There are hundreds known for animals, and humans have, I thought there were 7 or 8, but there's another pathologist I heard that said humans have up to 15. But if you look at them under a slide in a microscope, in 2D, they look like a crown. They look like a ring. We've all seen the ball with the spikes. If you look at it under a microscope in 2D, it looks like a ring with these spikes coming out of it. And the spikes have these little nubs on the end, like the crown spikes have the fleur-de-lis, or the thing that spreads out on the top. So they named it in Latin the crown virus, you know. I was shown that by a very famous avian pathologist named Kumar when I worked for Immunogenetics. That was the name of my first company out of school, out of Thunderbird, Immunogenetics, which is now owned by Elanco Eli Lilly, the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world. That's just part of my background. I'm just going over my background. I'm not going to talk about anything to do with that topic because it's not allowed anymore. I thought I would make some videos on that in the last couple of months, but they've been limited and then just rejected. If I say anything that comes from my wheelhouse of expertise, I can't go there. I understand. Sensitive topics, not everyone understands. I keep telling YouTube they need to hire me or let me work from home as part of a reviewer on the guidelines policies, because especially when it comes to scientific research or doctors or people that are saying anything, if they're referring to the World Health Organization or CDC information, or you want to know if this person's saying something that's not right, or if this person is saying something that's not true. Like, you hear people referring to viruses being caused by 5G and that they don't exist and they're actually exosomes and things like that. No, I've looked at them in the microscope. The crown bug exists, for example. That's just one example. We had reovirus, which is like an arthritis in the joints. We had mycoplasma. We had cholera, pastorella, Newcastle, bursal disease, which is like the lymphatic system disease in chickens that gives them like an immune deficiency syndrome. Sold live and killed vaccines. Traveled the world. And I also sold other pharmaceuticals that were for animal. We had large animal and small animal pharmaceuticals. That company was made up of several companies. Some of those today are in PetSmart. When you go to your pet store and you buy some of these advanced shampoos, like with, sulfur salicylic acid shampoos for skin conditions, and coal tar shampoos that are encapsulated in what's called Novosome technology, which is like an encapsulated liposome. And we also made cosmetics. We had a cosmetic, Immunogenetics had a cosmetic division, and we actually made cosmetics for Revlon, Almay, Estee Lauder, all of the wrinkle creams, and we would encapsulate the drug that was for the wrinkles inside the liposome type, but it was actually hydrolipid. It was a combination of different layers, and it would take away the toxicity to the skin so it wouldn't burn. A lot of women use these products, and it burns the skin and it peels the skin, and if they do it too much, it's actually damaging, and their face turns red, and it actually hurts, like having chapped face, take off too much skin. So we would make these, and it was Revlon Results and Clinique Prescriptives, All You Need. We actually manufactured that in vats in our plants. We made a shampoo that didn't need water. It was a gel, and you would actually just take a packet, like a ketchup packet you get at a fast food place. This was a big packet, and you just tear off the corner and squeeze out this gel, and you put it in your hair, and you would goop it all up, and then it would dry. It used that same encapsulation technology, and it would dry and turn into, like, if you've ever done drafting, those bags that have the rubber particles in it that you use to clean the paper off after a pencil drafting project, or if you're an artist. It would just turn into these like rubber balls, and all you had to do was just brush your hair out with these rubber dust balls. It would just fall out, and your hair would be perfectly clean. It would remove all the dirt and grease and oil from your hair. And I was actually traveling to South America, and I was going to Colombia, and I sold those in Cali and in Medellin that the government used in the jungle that were fighting the anti-revolutionary forces, the FARC, in Colombia. So I was going to Bolivia, and I was selling pharmaceuticals for animals and shampoo for humans, vaccines for chickens, even heart medicine. I sold, digoxin. My father passed away of a heart condition a few years ago, and he received digoxin. Whenever you hear people they digitize the heart, he received that. And I sold that, but it was for animals. But it's the same exact drug. A lot of things, that's why animals are tested, because a lot of things, if they work in an animal, they'll work in a human. Especially in the immunology, in the immunogenetics industry, when you sell a product that's, for example, vaccines for chickens, I've sold billions of doses of different vaccines, and you can observe reactions and how they spread and how the live vaccine will work, or if you follow it up with an inactivated vaccine, or if you are selling both, or from the time it takes to isolate a new strain that comes out. Like, we had different strains that would come out, and we would isolate them and make products. And we had new products that came out while I worked there. I think at the time, I don't know how many they have now that it's Elanco division of Eli Lilly. But when I was in it, New Jersey, it was a company called Vineland. It may still be the Vineland line of brand within Elanco. I don't know what brand name they're using today, but we had 73 or 78 different strains registered with the USDA. They were all separate seeds. They were all kept in liquid nitrogen, and we could bring them out. And some of them were attenuated, some weren't. The ones that go in the inactivateds were not attenuated. They don't have to be because they're dead, you know. You suspend them in an emulsion, an oil base, or a mercury derivative, or a aluminum hydroxide. But you don't have to worry about attenuation when you're talking about an inactivated portion of a code. Anyway, I was taught by pathologists that wrote white papers and were published and gave talks at all the conferences, and I attended CDC conferences, and I was all over the world in Europe. I was actually traveling in Europe when I graduated from Thunderbird. The European Union wasn't even known as the European Union yet. It was still the EEC, the European Economic Community. And then it shortened to EC, and then now they call it EU. But I was into that, traveling there, and I was going to Switzerland and Greece and Germany and Holland and France and Spain and Portugal, all over Europe. And before they had the EU, and you could get one approval that would go into all the countries for different drugs and vaccines. Yeah, I had to go to each country, and I was submitting regulatory papers and dossiers to each country. I remember I traveled all over Greece. The towns that you see in the Bible, when you look in the New Testament, the journeys of Paul, when you see Corinthians and Colossians and Thessalonians. I was in Thessaloniki. I went to Colossenses. I was in Galata, where Galatians comes from. I went through the whole journey of Paul, visiting chicken farms, you know, selling vaccines. So, and Holland is in the United States, if you're looking for a center of control over an industry that is chicken production and the health of chickens, and it's the same town where the CDC's at, in Atlanta, Georgia. And actually a town in Georgia called Gainesville. That's the chicken capital of the world. That's where all the technology comes out. It's like saying, like Detroit, Michigan for automobiles. Well, for any kind of chicken feeding, housing, processing, vaccinating, drugging, anything to do with animal health that has to do with birds comes out of Gainesville, Georgia, and then Atlanta, Georgia. And in Europe, believe it or not, it's Holland. Southern Holland, close to the Belgian border. There was a company there, I'm not sure what name it is now. It was called Intervet. It was part of Akzo Nobel, and there was another company called Solvay. But a lot of actually my old boss, I think now he works for SmithKline, GlaxoSmithKline, and another boss went to Pfizer. Some co-workers of mine. I ended up working for Abbott Laboratories, and I worked for St. Jude Medical. I moved over into human products, and I worked in neuromodulation, which is using electrodes in the brain and spine to control spasticity and movement disorders, and pain, like trigeminal nerve pain, lower back and limb pain, neuropathic pain, dystonia. You ever heard of people that would be like, we had a guy that was a dart champion, and he got to where he had a problem that developed where he would try to throw the dart and his hand would just curl down. So somehow that neurological pathway in his brain where he'd learned to throw the darts and become a champion got corrupted and would send a signal and make him mess up, and he would always miss. So he had to compensate, like adjusting the sights on a rifle or a bow. He had to compensate way off in another direction to try, and it was too complicating, and he ended up with some electrodes that they put in his brain to turn off. It's called dystonia. But I've actually been involved in deep brain surgery. I've been in gamma knife surgery, and not just in the United States, but in Argentina, in Mexico. I was always the manager of Latin America and the Caribbean most of my career in 4 companies that I worked in, and every company I worked in headquarters. And a couple of those companies, I was director over the whole world. I actually worked with King Faisal of Saudi Arabia. My friend was actually his manager. He was in Atlanta, Georgia at some of our poultry meetings as they were decking out Saudi Arabia with the best chicken houses and production equipment for their meat industry. I've worked with, I've been in meetings with leaders, heads of state. I know billionaires. I know the second wealthiest man, Buffett, his son Howard. I worked for Howard Buffett. I've worked for Thyssen, Baron Thyssen in Europe, the one who owns the Thyssen Museum in Madrid, Spain. He actually lives in Holland. He goes by Leo. He goes by an alias, and people don't know who he is. But he was my boss. Then I went to work for Abbott Laboratories, which at the time was called Advanced Neuromodulation. That got bought by St. Jude Medical, a company out of Minnesota, St. Paul, that made the first heart valves. And then they made pacemakers, defibrillators, atrial fibrillation devices, and then they added the pain and movement disorder division with the deep brain surgery, and I was doing deep brain. I was involved in research. I actually worked with a researcher who came from McGill University in Canada, in French-speaking Canada, and her last name is Cameron, and her father is a famous psychiatrist from McGill University. And she's a friend of mine on LinkedIn, so I've actually worked with Dr. Ewan Cameron's daughter. It's funny, when I met her, I didn't know anything about her father, but I'd heard his name. And we were in Australia. We were on a ferry boat. Our company had chartered a boat. We had all of our clients on this cruise going around the Sydney Harbor. And all of the directors and VPs, we all went up on the roof of the ship and we're letting all the customers mingle. They had bands and drinks and food. And so we're on okay, hi. Yeah, we're supposed to meet you. I think you want to go to South America. I'm going to take you to Argentina and introduce you to my clients. And I think we'll go to Mexico and we have somebody that will work with you and research there. And so how did you get into brain research, and how did you become a biomechanical engineer? And she told me, she said, well, my dad was actually head of psychiatry at a university called McGill in Canada. I said, oh, cool, so you're following in your dad's footsteps. I could go on. The people that I worked with, the people that I know, I used to travel with 4-star generals. I've been in embassies in Brazil. When you're working in biomedical research and you work and you sell vaccines and you sell drugs and pharma and you're doing white paper research on deep brain activity, or even like the king of Saudi Arabia right now. I mean, my friend Greg was his rep for everything that he bought in the country for all of the chicken production. And we worked out of a company. That's when I worked for a company at the time that was owned in part by Buffett's. But they sold that and they ended up buying the competitor company. And it's part of their owner group called Berkshire Hathaway. So I don't work full time now, and I want to become a YouTuber because I'm tired of working full time. I don't have to. I've made 6 figures in jobs, and I've earned probably in my total career of 28 years, I've earned a few $1 million. I've got enough for a good retirement on, with my Social Security and what I've got in the bank and things like that. And my children are grown, so I don't have to work full time. And where I live now, everything's paid for. And I have a part-time job that is as much as some people make with a full-time job. Plus, I write books. I'm an author. I have a book in the Library of Congress under my real name and in science fiction, youth fantasy fiction novel. And I'm writing, it's a 5-part series, and I just put the first book out and got it published. I'm trying to develop my YouTube channel so I can get monetized and start making another income out of that and become a public figure and learn how to go big on YouTube. I do. I'm also a musician. I can work in music. There's a lot of things I do. I like to have income streams. I'm not interested right now in putting out my resume and pulling strings with my contacts I know, which are way, way up there. I just think, when I have to do that, I think, why? I have, everything is good right now. I don't have any debt. Here I am. I'm sitting here. It's 12:20 p.m. I'm live streaming with you guys. And I'm talking and I'm relaxed, playing guitar, and I'm doing what I want to do. Oh, look at that. I just got an email from the White House. The biggest political scandal of our time. This is from Trump. I'm on the 1600 daily email from the White House. Kellyanne Conway put me on that because I actually wrote to the president and the White House to tell them an idea that I've had for how to pay for the wall. And I'll share that with you right here because I'm sure it'll come out, and they already know it. And in fact, Kellyanne put me on the email list after I sent that to her. I saw her say it on TV the same week I told her, I emailed her on a Tuesday, or Wednesday. That Sunday night, she was on, I think it was Jim McClare hour. It was on ABC on a Sunday evening. And she said, "Do you know the second highest source of Mexican GDP is the money that's sent back to the homes from illegal immigrants in the United States?" I told her that figure because that was told to me by my Mexican distributor when we were driving across Mexico City. And I said, why don't you take the Western Unions, the MoneyGrams, and the money that's sent back from all of the illegal immigrants that are here in the United States, they send a lot of money home. It's actually a respectable thing that most of these people you see that are working in the States, they send a lot of money home to their families, and they're always sending wire transfers and MoneyGrams and telegrams and Western Union and stuff, So I said, why don't you just put a tax on it to pay for? Just call it the wall tax. That way, when somebody goes to send $500 home to their family, they walk in a Western Union shop and they have to provide an ID, a visa, even a tourist visa. I said you could have a green card, a proof of citizenship in the United States. If you're transferring money to a Latin American country or anywhere outside the U.S., and you can't show that you're here legally by either a citizenship, a work visa, a green card, and I told White House, even a tourist visa, then you have a wall tax. And it would be, I'm guessing, 6 to 8% on whatever you're wire transferring, So if you're sending $500, it would be like $40, and to pay for the wall tax. So why not? That way you have exactly the people who are causing the problem that you're trying to avoid, and people crossing the border illegally. If you don't want them to do that, then you have exactly the people who are doing it are paying for the wall. And it should be more than enough money to fund it and pay for it in perpetuity, because it's the second largest source after petroleum in Mexico. After petroleum is GDP. So there's plenty of money out of that. Just tax it when it goes back across the border. And that way we can do what the president said. We'll make Mexico pay for it. But you're making the exact people that are causing the problem pay for it. You're not just making the Mexican government randomly pay for it or have to put it in their budget. And you make them laugh like, yeah, you're going to make us pay for it. Well, if most of them are here in this country, in the U.S. illegally, you tax them. And where? The money they send home. They all send money home. Anyway, that's how I got put on the White House email list. I get every day the schedule of the day, the picture of the day. I think you can sign up for it. You have to go through probably a background check by Secret Service. But yeah. I was shocked. I just happened to be watching the news Sunday night, and I heard Kellyanne Conway. She was talking to whoever that, is it McClare? And she said exactly what I said in my email. She said, did you know the second source of GDP in Mexico after petroleum is the money that people send home to their families that comes illegally from illegal immigrants inside the U.S. and U.S. dollars sent back to Mexico? I was like, I told you that. It was funny. I still have one concurrent viewer right now, and no one else has come on. So either people are not seeing that I'm live right now, it's not coming up as a browse feature, I'm not being announced, people aren't seeing it. I don't know what's happening. I said all my flavors are guaranteed to satisfy. Hold up now. I'm usually passing by around 11 o'clock. Never stop. I'm usually passing by around 11 o'clock. And if you let me cool you one time, you'll be my regular stop. I got my bump up banana, my Dixie cup. All my flavors and my push-ups too. I'm your ice cream man. Stop me when I'm passing by. I said all my flavors are guaranteed to satisfy. Hello, Sir Fed. Tune? Do I sound out of tune? Is that what you're saying? Thanks for coming. Little one for the ladies. Sometimes you're gonna need some to keep you cool. Sometimes you're gonna need some to keep you cool. Yeah, well look out, mama, 'cause I've got something for you. I'm usually passing by around 11 o'clock. Passing by around 11 o'clock. And if you let me cool you one time, you'll be my regular stop. Thank you. I warm up banana, my Dixie cup. All my flavors and my push-ups too. I'm your ice cream man. Stop me when I'm passing by. My. I got all my flavors again. That is fine. Hold up now. I'm usually stopping by around 11 o'clock. I'm usually passing by around 11 o'clock. And if you let me cool you one time, you're a regular stop. Thank you. I got my warm-up banana, my Dixie cup. All my flavors and my push-ups too. I'm your ice cream man. Stop me when you're passing by. I said all my flavors are guaranteed to satisfy. Kind of fell apart. Yeah, clap. What are you gonna clap? Dum, na, 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 na. Clap or snap? Na, 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 na. I like to play blues. I'm a blues guitarist. I like to go to blues jam. Do stuff like the Hendrix. that's where my baby stays. Yeah, there's been a long time since I've seen my baby. It's been 99 and 1/2 days. Yes, it has. I still got my guitar. Let's see. Let's see. Now how'd I get oh, it's the wrong string. I haven't played it in a while. That's terrible. I have to practice my Hendrix. I forgot it. How about Johnny Be Good? You like Charles Berry? Yeah, I busked. When I was in Chile, I used to go out and just play in the street, and I'd just pick tunes out of my head and start playing them. I used to play, you know, Stairway to Heaven. So where are you from, Sir Feb, 2010? I used to play stuff by Kid Rock. There's a lot of ZZ Top. Let's see. Can't remember it right now. Zeppelin. one headlight guy. I like Jacob Dylan if it's not truth music. Oh yeah, the one headlight. And one headlight. I'd have to listen to that to have it down. So you're from Flat Earth. You just got back from the dentist. I've got a video for you. Have you seen my video? I live right next to the Johnson Space Center. I'm here half a mile from Mission Control. It's right there. That way. There's high tension power line. If you look on a Google map, I'm just north of the Johnson Space Center. You look at where the fence is, and there's some high tension power towers and a bunch of neighborhoods of condominiums, and I live in that cluster of neighborhood right there. My father rode his bicycle to work, and he worked in Mission Control. And I just went and got my contact prescription redone. This was like in November. If you look up, I red-pilled Buzz Aldrin's eye doctor. Oh, you said dentist. I'm thinking of eye doctor. Anyway, did you see the eye doctor one? That was funny. So you're from, yeah, so Flat Earth, nobody talks about that anymore. You know, it's not allowed. You can't make videos about it. Even if you're investigating it and you look into it. I like to go out, since I'm right here by the bay. I have a Nikon, I've got this camera. This is a Nikon Coolpix, but this is not the 900 or the 1000. This is the 500. This is a P500. It's got a 36 times zoom, but it's enough. When I turn it on, I'll show you. If I zoom that out, oh, the battery just shut off. I need to charge it. But I go and I film ships coming in the bay, and I can film them from about 6, 7, 8 miles away. And I'm also a mathematician. You know, I have a degree in economics, which is a math degree. All of my math classes were taken with the physics and the engineers and the other math majors. And so I can take an equation like your 8 inches times miles squared. And what I did was I made a derivative of that integral equation, and I just reversed it and inverted it so that now I have this new equation I call the Alex Aquarius curvature equation. It's miles equals the square root of height in feet times 1.5. So there's an example like the Statue of Liberty from sea level to the top of the torch. The Statue of Liberty, have you seen that one? Statue of Liberty is 326 feet tall. So if you take that number and multiply it times 1.5, all right, you take 326 feet, multiply it times 1.5, whoops, 326 times 1.5. Now take that number and you just take the square root of it, which gives you 22.11. That's your miles. Miles equals the square root of height in feet times 1.5. So the square root of that number is 22 miles. That will tell you when the Earth's curvature will occlude all the way to the top of the torch. So you can't be more than 22 miles away on the ocean. And you always want to measure over water, right? You probably know this stuff. If you are on a ship, now just Google. You can Google it right now. How far away can the Statue of Liberty be seen with the naked eye over water? Oh, yeah. I overpaid? You overpaid for a new computer. Hey, I got a Ryzen 3 1200 quad core with an NVIDIA GTX 1050. You know, it's 1.5-year-old, but I got Windows 10 Pro, including the Office Suite with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and all that, which was a big plus. I didn't have to buy it separately. That's one reason. And it was $479. So I looked into building it, but I could have... What is your new computer? Which one did you get? Flat stuff? Hey, I want to ask ask you guys, who has been looking at Mark Sargent or Patricia Steer? Has she ever showed up anywhere? You know, I met her. You know, you may know this, I was in the movie Behind the Curve, and I went to the dinner that Patricia had in Houston a few years ago, and that's when I met the producer of that movie, Behind the Curve, and he interviewed me on camera for about 20 minutes out on the patio of the restaurant. And I was talking all about the toroidal field with transverse energy fields. If you look at electromagnetism and how the waves go vertical and horizontal, if you have an over-unity system, you have one frequency across the plane, and you have another frequency which causes your aurora borealis around a nodal pole in the center, and it's a dipole, and the field would look like a donut, which would give you an apex over the equator, that kind of stuff. Yeah. You know what happened? Did you take the paperwork out of the inside and shut it down before you opened it? What I did was I took the paperwork out, and I got a screwdriver, and I opened it up, and I took all that stuff out, and I looked at the piece of paper, and it talked about getting a $10 rebate from Amazon, but you had to fill out some stuff, and I don't want to go deliver a bunch of personal information just so I can get a $10 rebate and then a million spam emails from Amazon. So I threw it away, and I went to plug in the computer, but I found out when I plug in my HDMI cable, it has to go into it has to plug into the NVIDIA card. You can't plug it into the regular monitor jack, the HDMI monitor jack at the top of the back of the computer. You have to go down to where the graphics card is, and it's a dedicated NVIDIA graphics card, so everything comes out of that plug. That's the only problem I had when I first started it up. There was no display on my monitor, and I was like, crap, I got a broken computer, I got to send it back. And then I went back and I read that piece of paper I pulled out, and it said exactly that. It said, be sure and hook your HDMI cable straight into the NVIDIA card. Don't plug it into the regular monitor jack. I got an eBay deal on the computer. Seller accepted my offer of $181, yeah. You got the Intel i5. Okay, memory, RAM, 8 gigabyte. DDR3, motherboard, Acer. Okay, you got Acer. My laptop is an Acer. You got the Mini ATX. Mine's a Mini ATX. AMD, Radeon. So you went with Radeon. 2 gigabyte. See, mine's the NVIDIA 2 gigabyte. It sounds like you haven't opened the box yet, but hopefully it's better for live streams. Yeah, that's what it's about. You know, this one right now I think it's acting stellar. It's just wonderful. It's really fast, and just to watch. You know, I'm using that TV. If you watched my video, my screen, you know, is this wide now, and it's all 1080. It's just really crisp, and I'm used to looking at my laptop screen, which is about this big, and on a Celeron processor that was just piss poor, and it would always hang up and jam, and I couldn't live stream. But yeah, you should like that, the i5. Did you get software with it? What did it come with? Windows 10 or did it come with 10 Pro? Mine, that was the biggest selling point for mine. If I would have built mine, I would have paid $300 to $400 and then had to go buy the Windows Pro. But when I found this one, it's actually renewed or refurbished Ryzen setup. And it's made by AVG PC. And I thought, well, if I built it, it's going to cost me about the same as the renewed computer. And it's got a 1-year warranty guarantee. And it comes with Windows 10 Pro, which gave me my Word and my Excel and my PowerPoint, which I want to use as well, you know. Yes, I was in Behind the Curve. I was in the movie trailer as well at the Canadian Film Festival when that came out. You know what happened? Let me tell you my flat Earth story. Flat Earth, flat stuff Earth. I've seen you before. Are you subscribed to me, or have we been in? Maybe you were in chat on Patricia's Secret Show. When I first just looking into flat Earth. When I started looking into it was in 2015, and I went to Chile. I don't know if you remember Jade Helm 15. I just made a video a few videos ago about how when I had a face-off with soldiers in a truck during Jade Helm 15. Acting card. Well, I used to act when I lived in Utah. When I went to Brigham Young University. I'm SAG qualified because I've been in movies before. I've acted with Jason Priestley, what's her name, Jenny Garth, Robin Lively, who's on CSI now, I think, and all these actors. If I tell people around here, people I work, they're like, who? Especially the younger generation, they don't even know who I'm talking about. And these were people that were on 90210, and like the year before that. And I was going to go to Hollywood. I was SAG qualified in Utah, and I wanted to move to LA before all the things I know now. And after that, I just got out of it. And I'm glad I didn't go. But I was in a movie called Teenager Returns. I was in Ski Patrol. I was in the Encyclopedia Brown series, 2 episodes on the Disney Channel. I was in that was HBO series. I was in some movies that were on the Disney Channel. Dennis Leonard, All Me. So anyway, when I was in 2015, I think I just come back from. I had just come back from Chile, and Patricia Steer, she was like on her 4th or 5th episode, and she was in downtown Houston. I'm in Houston, and I thought, wow, maybe we can get together. There's a person, we can share stuff. But the more I got to know her, I mean, people don't even know I was in the Behind the Curve movie, because what happened, I have a pretty good smell detector when I smell. Kind of like Alex Jones. There's some kind of, the people that get punched in the left eye show up everywhere. There was just a reek about her. I can't tell you what, and Mark for sure. The way everything was programmed and all of the decisions that were being made when they first decided to have the Flat Earth Conference. And I thought, no, you don't want to organize and put yourself out there to be ridiculed and have people show up. Like that guy Jake Paul showed up, and there was the thing where Mark went home and all that, He always had that problem where he had his URL about Flat Earth registered with the guy, what was his name? Real in Hollywood, before he became a Flat Earther. And he never, I've registered websites and URLs. My first website I registered is called Car Buyer's Friend, and I registered it in about 1999. You can't just say randomly, he just happened to register the URL and he just happened to have it already. And he never answered that. So I just started leaving the Flat Earth community and everyone that had anything to do with Mark or Patricia. I started working in a restaurant in the evening as a part-timer, and so I didn't attend the Secret Show. I had a blue wrench. I mean, everybody in the Flat Earth community knew me. Nathan Oakley, Patricia, Mark, all those people. I was in the very beginning. And then I just disappeared. So then they started thinking I was trolling them because I wasn't attending the show anymore. And then one day, I had a day off on a Wednesday, and I went to their show, and I didn't have a blue wrench anymore. And then when I went in there and commented, Patricia said, there's somebody in here, and I don't know if they're trolling or what he's doing in here. Like, all I did was quit attending the show because I was working on Wednesday evening. But that whole thing, it just reeked and reeked and reeked, and I just started distancing myself. Right after I did the interview with the producer Behind the Curve, and I went, and then the trailer came out, and I saw that it was a mockumentary, I just quit associating with anyone that had anything to do with Flat Earth because I didn't want my name to be out there. And I saw, a year later, there were people who have never even heard of me. They don't know. If you've seen the movie Behind the Curve, especially the trailer, I'm like the 4th person in the movie right at the beginning. There's Scott Kelly talks, and then you see Patricia and Mark, and then it's Paul on the plane. I'm the 5th person, and I say, well, I also solved the JFK assassination, which I will share with you at a later date. Have you seen that? That's me. So, hello, Beetle Freakers, Dennis, System of Control, Flat Earth stuff. Still, the masses are unaware. My dentist staff never heard of Flat Earth till I said it today. Oh, did you tell them? Oh, I distanced myself because I smelled like an infiltration. You know about like Alex Jones, how he's like a misinformation shill. He'll tell you about 85% of what's true out there, and then he poops in the punch bowl. He even says that about David Icke. But I just saw him. I haven't watched him in years, but I saw him. Somebody sent me a link of his on Facebook, and I clicked on it. It ended up being Alex Jones, and he was talking about the Democrats are doing this and because they want the Republican. And he would know it's not about political parties. You know, it's more about the elite power control of the New World Order. It's not about parties. And so you told the people at your dentist staff they'd never heard of Flat Earth? Yeah. Yeah, I told my eye doctor, if you've seen that video where he said, guess who was sitting in this chair just last week? Buzz Aldrin. I said, really? Have you seen my video? He goes, yeah, he's the oldest one of the moonwalkers. Of anyone who walked on the moon. He's like one of the last surviving ones, if you believe that. And I looked at him and I said, actually, I don't believe any of them ever did that. And he just looked at me. But when I went to the eye doctor, I did not plan on red pilling my eye doctor or telling him. But he actually sees all of the astronauts of NASA. And he's right next to the Space Center. He's just down the street. But, yeah. The dentist. That's funny. That is funny. So this is my first time I'm live streaming. It's my first successful live stream where I've actually got people in the chat, people coming and going. I'm just trying to let this run. I'm sorry I don't have as much prepared to talk about or show you or anything. I just got it set up. And this is really my first live stream after just getting all the sound balanced and fixed this morning. And I turned on the stream and I'm still on. I don't even know where it shows me how long I've been on. Let me go back and look at my OBS. An hour and 14 minutes. Good. So I'm just chilling. The pals too. Welcome. How are you? Do you guys know I got demonetized yesterday? If you saw my video I posted yesterday, the satisfaction video from the Rolling Stones, I got demonetized and I was told, what truth music do I like? I don't know. Is there truth music? I like ODD. I think he's a pretty good producer. I kind of like his stuff. And who was the guy, the Flat Earth guru with the dog? 73 minutes. Okay, thank you. But I'm not even sure what Flat Earth truth music is. Or just truth. I'm more into truth or topics. You know, when I started this channel, like I said, I just got demonetized yesterday. I have 1,200 subscribers. I've been monetized for about almost a year. And when this crown bug came out, I started making videos about, because I worked in the vaccine industry. So I would say, thank you. Yeah, sorry to hear that. I would say things like, well, here's the difference between a live vaccine and a killed vaccine. Here's what a PCR test is. Because I was looking at PCR test results in 1991, 1992. My first job after my master's program in internet. And I was going around the world visiting chicken farms, watching outbreaks. And I was actually designing vaccine programs for animals and selling billions of doses of vaccine worldwide. But you can't talk about it. Oh, Zane, Eric Dubay. I liked Eric Dubay. He kind of gets a little fruity and weird when he does his, like that time he dressed like Patricia and he was acting like a woman. And he said, but his research is solid. I like the 200 proofs. Oh, thank you. I would like to be included in, I've talked to ODD about getting together in the studio and playing like some guitar parts. If I've got a solid body electric, you know, I can play leads and things. You know, I do. But thank you, pals, too. I like to play guitar, and I would like to be involved in some truth. If you hear of anybody producing a truth album or doing something like the Flat Earth Guru did, or ODD, or somebody like that, I'll jump in and I'll travel and go play for it. I like to sing. I sing, when I'm warmed up, I sing Chris Cornell. I learned a lot of Chris Cornell. I can sing, have you ever heard The Last Remaining Light? Roll me on your frozen fields. That one. And if you don't believe the sun will shine. Then you go up a couple octaves, but I have to sing for about 45 minutes. I Say Music, he did that Welcome to the Show song, Life Under Earth music. I like that. You know, I haven't watched as much Flat Earth stuff because, like I said, I had to distance myself from it. And I didn't want to be in... I tried to detach all of the telomeres of any connection to do with the Flat Earth community when YouTube was going after all those channels and took a lot of people down. And we've had to adapt and do other things. So now I'm talking about spirituality, my near-death experience, other experiences I've had. I've had UFO experiences, actually been aboard the craft with 3 or 6 of them. I'm looking to get hypnotically regressed. I have a friend in near San Antonio who's going to do that. She just wrote a book, and she's a consciousness expert, and she's also a hypnotherapist. My mother remembers it. She was with me in the yard. I've had demonic attack. I've had, getting back to the subject, what this video is supposed to be about. I've had heavenly experience. I've been out of body while wide awake. Just popped out right in the middle of a conversation with 6 other people, and no one even knows I was gone until I told one guy after we left his house. I seem to be a lightning rod or antenna for that type of activity. I don't meditate, really. I mean, I've tried. I'm actually telepathic. I had my fiance about 6 or 7 years ago. She went shopping, and I was in the bathtub, and I had this big oval tub that was deep. And I could float in it without hardly touching anything. And it's better when you're floating in water and you meditate. And I thought, oh, I'm going to call her. So I started calling her name. And I just kept doing it. And I could tell when I'm connected to that energy level. And she came home. It was like 2 or 3 hours later. I was already dressed. I was working on the pool or something. And she comes in. She's carrying bags in from the car. And she just stopped. She goes, hey. She goes, were you calling my name and meditating or something? Because she says, I'm in the car. I just come out of the mall. I'm at this red light. And I hear you calling my name. And I said, oh, yeah, I did. I forgot. So, are you telepathic too? It's really interesting to be telepathic. But I've had in my life... demonic attack. I've had the thing on my chest where I'm paralyzed and I can't move, and had to rebuke it. I've had the alien UFO. These guys were outside of my window when I was 7 years old and staring at me in my bedroom and told me to come outside. And I said, telepathically, I said, I'm not coming outside without my mom. So they woke up my mother, and my mother knew they were in the yard. She just woke up in bed and knew they were in the yard. I've got videos on her doing that. You know, there's a lot of quantum of consciousness. Yeah, I listened to that one. You have to be careful with all of these gurus and people like on Gaia and all of these consciousness experts, like Eckhart Tolle and things like that. There's some truth to what they're saying, but I think they go beyond reality, and some of the, they're twisting the truth. And then there's people like with the alien thing. I do know that the Greys exist, okay? I've talked to them face to face. Even though I don't remember the face, my mother says she told them to not show their face. Yeah, the flat earth topic. You know, it's not the only thing though. Once you go to flat Earth, you understand things, and it helps. You know what it does? Once you know about the FE subject, it helps you sort out through all the BS of all the other truthers. Because you can spot somebody, even churches. If somebody's preaching something about the globe or a secret space program or something, you just instantly know you don't have to follow or listen to that person because they're making it up. And I'm going to tell you, when I had my out-of-body astral experience where I actually went through... Are you ready? I went through the moon. What is it? The order of the 7 planets above the heliocentric... the geoplane. Is it Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun... Mars, Jupiter. I went through all of them. And I remember going through the big one, through Jupiter. But I didn't feel them, and I was trying to fly around them, and my spirit said, no, fly right through them. And then I went through the waters above the water, which was kind of like if you saw that Jodie Foster movie, Contact, where she's going through the wormhole. But it was all straight ahead. It was kind of like the warp speed, like on Star Wars, Han Solo. But when I came out on top, I was in heaven. And there were gods up there wearing white robes. And we looked through the floor and we could see inside the house. I was a missionary at the time. But it didn't occur to me that the earth was flat all the way to the horizon, even underneath the floor of heaven, above the waters that are above. You can see the earth all the way to the horizon in every direction. And above that was blackness of space, but I didn't see any stars. I sound like... Cooper or Aldrin. Was it Cooper? The third astronaut? But anyway, I just got to remember from anyway not to get sad, not eat junk food. Yeah. You know, I've become a vegetarian on accident. Not completely vegan. But also, when I had that experience, when I went out of body and I went through the planets, what I'm telling you, that happened to me in 1985 in Argentina, in Cordoba, Argentina. And it never occurred to me until I found Flat Earth in 2015 that that's exactly what I saw when I flew through it all, because I didn't understand where I was or what I saw or how that worked. That I saw this flat plane that was Earth, and it looked like the infinite plane with all of these other continents that you don't recognize on any map. And you go through the planet, but each planet is like an onion layer of a different frequency. But when you're a spirit, you just have this unbelievable speed, and you can fly right through them. I flew around the first 2. And then something told me, don't fly around them, you go through them. Yeah, this is the Epiphone Gibson. Thank you. See where it says Gibson right here? This is one of the first ones. This was made in... doesn't say the year. But I bought this guitar in like 91 or 92. I've had it for a while, but it's when Gibson made them. So this is the Gibson Epiphone PR5E. You can hide chat after stream too. I appreciate it. Or just time all my accounts out. They have 2 strikes. I'm supposed to be using it. Oh no, I said too much. I haven't said enough. I don't have any strikes. I've never gotten a strike. I've had videos removed. I've had I always get the same message, you know, we had to remove your video. It did not agree with our community guidelines, but you don't have a strike, and you're still going to show up in the same search and be presented the same way, and it's not going to affect you, but we just can't allow that video to be. And I wonder, like I was demonetized yesterday, and I think it's because I was commenting on a Bill Gates video when he was trying to explain how vaccines worked, and I said, basically I was saying in my video that he's not differentiating between a live vaccine and a killed vaccine. He kind of did, but he's not making it clear that when you have a piece of a code, you cannot penetrate the cell membrane. So, but I can't make videos about that and talk about it. Even if I have background and that's my expertise, my wheelhouse, I can't talk about it. That's okay, I'll find other things to talk about. Like I'm talking about today, let's talk about other truth subjects. But here, I wanted to tell you, like I said, in my spiritual experience out of body, where I went to heaven and above the waters, it's everything that I've learned about Flat Earth since 2015 takes me right back to that experience I had in 1985. And I never figured it out until 2015 when I figured out the Earth's probably flat, and then all these planets are this way. And then I'm like, it just hit me one day, an epiphany when I remembered that experience, and I thought, that's exactly what I saw. How about you can do that song you play using that? The Beatles. I can't think of any Beatles songs. I grew up playing Beatles songs. I have all kinds of books, and I'm one of these guys, like, I can play things if I remember them, but I'll stand in front of people and go, I can't think of anything to play. I was just thinking the other day of a Aerosmith song I knew, and I thought, I haven't played that in forever. There's Rolling Stones songs, there's like when I did Satisfaction. I did John Lennon, I used to do Imagine. But I haven't touched my guitar in a long time. I need to warm up on all my repertoire. I watch a lot of Theory now without even, Fool on the Hill, Come Together, yeah. Certainly just got to be free. Come together right now over me. I know a lot of Aerosmith songs if I dig them out. I actually met Steven Tyler. I hung out with Steven Tyler one day at a Sheraton hotel in Santiago, Chile, and we laid out by the 12 bars. Said, okay, get on stage. 12. I like 12-bar blues. Like I said, I have trouble I have all kinds of songs I know. But I've been on my computer all day and my brain is not thinking about my repertoire. And when I was in Chile, I could play like 100, 200 songs. I know Elvis Presley songs. I sing Johnny Cash, like Ring of Fire. Oh, the one eye symbolism. Did you ask Steven Tyler about Flat Earth? No, when I met Steven Tyler, this was like in 1994. He was on the, what was that tour? Get a Grip. They were on the Get a Grip tour. And their manager First, I was out at the pool. It was a Sunday afternoon. I'd just gotten there to Chile. And I was going to meet actually the largest chicken producer in Chile, and I had a meeting with the owner that night. And Aerosmith was giving a concert Sunday night and Monday nights. This was back in 1994. This was 26 years ago. So I didn't know what I know now, so I wouldn't have been able to tell Steven about Flat Earth and stuff. But he walked out with his bodyguard, and he came by right in front of my feet between me and the pool. And he's like, "Excuse me." I said, "Hi." I said, "Hey, you guys are giving a concert here tonight. I saw on the paper." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Are you coming out?" And I said, "Oh, no." I said, "I've got my biggest client I came here to visit. I've got to see him tonight. I would love to come to your show." So Steven Tyler invited me to their show, was going to take me backstage. And but I had a dinner with an important client. And then later on that night, the client stood me up, so I missed both. But we sat out by the pool and talked. I told him, I said, "You know, my favorite song of yours is Seasons of Wither. Have you ever heard Seasons of Wither?" You know, what is it? This one? What in the world? He goes, "That's sharp." Fireflies dance in the heat of hound dogs bay in the moon. My ship leaves in midnight. Can't say that I'll be back too soon. Sweethearted woman, sweet bee was she. Love for the devil brought her to me. Seas of 1,000 drawn to her sin. Dance in the heat of hound dogs bay in the moon. How about the That's hard to pick every note of that little riff Joe Perry did. But yeah, a lot of that music I just don't play anymore because I don't like to repeat the lyrics. But yeah, when I met Steven Tyler, I didn't know what I knew now. So you're a pro editor? You stopped playing as soon as you heard ISA. What's that? I was like, my guitar is broken, and then threw up and stopped playing. You know, if I do play a lot and I'm singing, like Chris Cornell is the one I learned how to do power vocals with. And I would sing in my car on the way to work. When I lived in Dallas, I would have like a 35-minute commute to work, and I used to just sing. I'd put in Audio Slave or Soundgarden and just sing Chris Cornell all the way to work and back. You know, we had the same birthday. We were born on exactly the same day. And we were only born 2 hours apart. And of course, I don't believe that he committed suicide. Just my opinion. But yeah. Who is ISA? Isa? Or Isa? You gave up the guitar for YouTube editing about 4 years ago. You're a lefty musician, so you play left hand? Isa Mahalski won. I'll have to look that up. Let's see. Isa Mahalski won. There it is. 1.4 thousand subscribers. I just subscribed. I'll check it out later. Thank you. Let's see what he's doing. You're probably hearing it, but I'm kind of Rasta style. Yeah, his music sounds kind of Rasta-ish, or almost Brazilian samba style. Like, I like to play that style. I've been to Brazil a lot. I speak Portuguese, and I can play some Brazilian music when I get on my classical guitar, like entonado, like what do you call it? Se você dizer que desafino amor, that kind of thing. I like that music. It's kind of like soft samba. It's copyright free. I'll have to look that up. I pulled it up. I've got the window open. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You know, back to what I was telling you about the Flat Earth thing. When about the same time that the group started organizing the first conference, and I was like, no. And then the billboard came out. Remember the Research Flat Earth billboard that came out, and it was in Philadelphia? And I remember that, and that was like a trick on purpose, because it said Research Flat Earth, and that link took you straight to the Flat Earth Society. So it was immediately ridiculed and busted as people talking about Flat Earth from the perspective of the Flat Earth Society. And then it came out like, oh, he's a hipster in a reggae body. Yeah, it sounds like reggae or Rasta. He's funny. But yeah, I was, so I just kind of ran away from that Flat Earth stuff. And like I said, I had my own spiritual experience where I've seen it from above the waters above. And like I said, it was interesting how I didn't figure out what I was looking at until decades later that's what I was looking at. You know, I'll also tell you, in that experience, God told me he doesn't like baptism. Brazilian music sounds nice and a better place to live. Yeah, if you go to Rio and you look that the music where they play the dun 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 se você disser que desafino amor. It's called bossa nova, but it's kind of like a softer, fast samba. The USA has gotten weird, yeah. You know, there's a lot of things going on here. You know, when they talk about building the wall, I've told people, like, if you build a wall, you know, you can't get out. You're going to keep people from getting in, but you also aren't going to be able to get out. What if people just wanted to run away? Yeah, Flat Earth realized. All of the Flat Earth stuff, I just think that whole thing that came out with Patricia Steer and Mark, it was all a setup, because all of the things that they did, they all came back to smell and reek and create havoc, and then they just disappeared, and they created the fight amongst themselves, and they did their job, and they got paid, and they're gone. And now you have people that are still hanging around, like Nathan Oakley has his Flat Earth debate, and I don't know what debates. I haven't even looked any of those people up or gone on and on about it, because I just know it and I've seen enough, and I don't want to attend a conference. I don't know if any of you know who George Green is, but George Green is a guy who he used to work and make banks. He worked for the government and he started under the Jimmy Carter administration. Yeah. But he was the one that was saying, he wrote a book called Handbook for the New Paradigm. Look up George Green with an E on the end. Handbook for the New Paradigm. And he's out there, but he's got some theories. He's got a website called nohoax.com. Nohoax.com. And but he's the one that said people need to just share with each other and their friends and their neighbors, but you don't form groups. You don't want to form a 501c3. It's the last thing you want to do. You don't incorporate. You don't have conferences. You don't try to get a TV channel. Anything that comes through the cable is going to be tied up, you know. You know, you have to, it has to go from mouth to ear, from person to person. That's the only way you're going to convince people and spread the word. And so when they had it seems like they took the lowest possible denominators of common people that were coming to this conference. Like, what's the guy, the Argentine guy, Landucci, and you had D. Marble, and then you had all of the Christians that were there that were saying weird things. And, you know, I'm Christian too, but there's a fanaticism that's involved with when you put them in a conference, and you don't mix religion and science in an acceptable format in a conference that you're going to expect news channels to come and report on. You just would not do that. You know, I've worked in marketing and sales for international companies and been in booths and conferences all over the world, and they're just, the decisions that were being made by that flat earth group were just ludicrous. And everything that happened, the way it was fell apart, the way the mockumentary was made, I'm sure that was set up by the people that ran Mark. And this, what was his name, Daniel Clark? We're in my office. No office job. Yeah, I don't want to work full time during the day anymore. I could dig out my resume and go get a job as an international director of some company, and I could go back to managing Latin America, and I could be traveling every week and flying all over and making six figures again. But I don't want to. I don't have any debt. The home I live in is paid for. I pay maintenance. You helped start Flat Earth in December 2013. Wow. From a living room. You know, do you remember what was it, Infinite Plane Society? There was, you know, all of these fights and squabbles between all of these people in Flat Earth. And then even Paul on the plane, I saw him last year. He was traveling around. I think he was in Texas, and he went to a church while they were having a church service, and he was talking to the security guys. These armed churchgoers that were put outside to keep people from creating a shooting event inside of a church. And he was just offending them, you know. So, and these are the people that people think of when they think of this FE community that are out there doing their thing and their shtick and their spiel. I just didn't want to be associated with any of it. So yeah, I'm in the movie, and I started early. Not as early as you, but around in 2015. I started to notice already, since I live right here next to NASA, that the orbiter, the shuttle, looks like a jet. And I think it has jet engines. And I started thinking about the science of rocket propulsion in a vacuum and things like that. And then I started taking the geometric equations for the curvature over water. Yeah. See, you know, I saw a flat earther, when was it, a couple of years ago, or 2017? Right after the mockumentary came out. And I'm in it, but right about that same time that whole movie was getting produced in the Canadian Film Festival, I disappeared. Because I didn't want to be sucked down by YouTube in association with that, because that's when the CEO said she was going to just get rid of all the flat earthers and take the channels down. And plus, at the same time, it smelled stinky, like it was a shill operation, and we were being set up to fail. Like I said, the decisions they were making were just ludicrously stupid. And the people who were the speakers, things like that. And when I met Patricia, I'm going to tell you something. You know, there was always the controversy over where she came from and what she was. I'm going to tell you something, just as an instinct, like a dog. When a dog sees somebody they don't like, or you just growl at somebody and you don't know why, but you have to trust the dog's instinct, you know. If the dog, you know, like girls, if you meet a girl and she takes you home, and the dog doesn't like you, you're probably not going to get in, you know. But if the dog likes you, you're in, right? I had that hair stand up when I met Patricia, Pat. Was at the restaurant, went to the Flat Earth dinner for the Houston meeting where I interviewed with Daniel for the movie when they filmed me for Behind the Curve. My very first impression of her, she walked in, she was a little bit late, and she walked in and signed the guest book. And I remember just looking at her and my body just went, no, something was wrong. Like, that's not I don't know that was a woman, I'm telling you. It just didn't look like it. Autoplay from JFK videos. Have you seen my JFK video? I have one. Observations I made when I lived in Dallas. I think the main shooter is shown on camera. The news coverage from that day. I'm not going to say what I think. But, you know, there are a lot of truther topics. And the one that I'm really onto now is about the UFOs and the aliens and being aboard the craft, and the ones that were in my yard and the ones that were with my mother and I. And I have a friend who works for the military. He works in Fort Hood. He works in video production for the military and training videos. He's the one that taught me how to do my lighting and set up the studio. And his wife is a consciousness worker who's a hypnotherapist. And she's going to do my hypnotic regression. And I want to know what they were showing me, what they were talking about, what they told my mother, if we flew off somewhere and came back. And my mother said she waited for him in the yard, and I flew off with them. And then we came back, and she said she waited forever. Which kind of sounds like a story. If you've ever heard of Dan Burrish, he's on Majestic 12, and he had that experience when he was 7 or 8 where he flew off, and I think it was his grandfather was playing ball with him, and they came down in a park and took him, and he just sat under a tree and waited for him. But it's really odd. It's something that's like, if somebody reminds you of something, let's say you went to an amusement park. I'm just making this up. Let's say you went to an amusement park when you were 5 and something happened or somebody said something, and your parents remind you, do you remember when you were 5? Andrew Homo up next. Autoplay on YouTube. The look on his face. I can't look at that right now. Who knows what the link would be? I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not going to view anything from chat. All right? Sorry about that. But, yeah. You know, there's just a lot more out there. You know, I've studied other topics, you know, all of the anthropology, the history. You know, I studied a lot in school about religious history. I've got a minor in world religion from Brigham Young University, which is all a church school. I've been on all the continents. I've been to about 60, 65 countries. I've been on the pyramids. I've been in Egypt. I've been all over Asia. I've been all over Europe. I've never been to China, and I've never been to Russia. I had a visa, and I was ready to go to Russia one time, and I had to cancel the trip at the last minute. And that was to go sell some pharmaceuticals for small animals with a distributor in Moscow. So, and use the dryer sheets, microwaves. What are you talking about? Why are there so many walking dead outside? You know, the world we live in right now, it's just different. People are different. There's a lot of things changing. Like people are saying now with this outbreak, things will not return back to normal. They will never be the same as they were. So we just have to learn to adjust. And the court system is messed up. You think they're working on that? Yeah, the court system. Well, you know about maritime admiralty law. Look, I have my master's degree in maritime admiralty law. It's in international management. I actually took import-export management, and I learned maritime admiralty law in 3 universities. I learned it in a government class, in an associate degree. I learned it at Brigham Young University in my economics program at the Marriott School of Management for international finance and trade, and I learned it in Thunderbird. I got my master's in international management. And my first job, I was shipping drugs and vaccines all over the world, which was funny. I went to Bolivia one time. I was in Santa Cruz, and I checked into this 5-star hotel, and the girl at the desk, she goes, "Hello." She goes, "Are you with the DEA?" And I said, "No." She said, "Are you with the CIA?" And I said, "No." Because she was going to give me a discount. They had all of these programs for all of these visiting government officials. "Are you with the Army or the military?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Are you with the FBI?" And I said, "No." And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I sell drugs to Bolivia." Legal ones, pharmaceuticals. So, yeah, my career's been a little odd. It's given me a lot of things to talk about and a lot of experience to share. I'm going to start telling stories, just stories about parties, taxis, people I worked with, things that happened in countries while I was there. Like I was in Bangladesh when they had the riots in the 90s. Remember in 99 or 2000? You know, I was flying around the world, and I flew on planes at least 4 to 8 flights a month when 9/11 happened in 2001. And I was living in New Jersey, and I lived about 45 minutes outside of New York City. Or I had just moved from there to another state, to Illinois. But I knew at the time 9/11 happened that you could not make cell phone calls from an airplane at cruising altitude. Yeah, I've been through divorce with court custody. Yeah, cops can assault you and bring you up on blood. Yeah. Is Trump working on what? The cops? Do you know, because of executive orders that have been signed, the police have a lot more abilities given to them that are not covered by the Constitution, you know. And they can do it because of, like martial law can be declared. A lot of the executive orders that Obama signed, like during the Boston Marathon bombing, they locked down the city of Boston to search for those 2 kids when they found them in the boat, remember? And the brother was shot and killed. What was it? Jokar? That was the first time, that was like the beta test. They actually locked down the entire city of Boston and said nobody can leave their home while they were looking for these, just to stay out of the streets and stay out of the way so they could find these 2 kids. But that could not happen before that. You know, the only other president or person who declared martial law and shut down a city was Joseph Smith in Nauvoo, Illinois, in like the year 1843 or 1844, before he died. His printing press was destroyed, and he was the mayor of Nauvoo, Illinois, and he declared martial law. Isn't that odd? So, I'm a history buff. I go all the way back for 7 to 11, 12,000 years, up back to the ancient Phoenicians. Have you ever watched the guy named Robert Sepper or Atlantean Gardens? He's really good. He's an anthropologist. He has several books out. And I mention a lot of those same topics, but my channel, I get videos taken down, and I get the bots come after me and think I'm being anti-social or not agreeing with some community guidelines because I talk about a certain society that started a political party. You know, and all I'm doing is objectively saying, this is what this party, like if anyone were to look it up on Wikipedia, this is what the party, you know, I actually had one video taken down that was for that, about a certain society that started a political party. And they said, you're being, you can't do that. You're picking on whatever. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, anyone of any faith, religion, color, or creed could look that up, just like they would look it up in an encyclopedia or in Wikipedia or anywhere, and look at my video and know where they came from, what they believed, and how they started their party. And I said, this is not against any God. I'm not picking on anybody. I don't say anything one way or the other. I just state what they are, who they were, and what they believed in and what they did. And that was it. And I did actually get that video back. But I still think the algorithm has suppressed me because I usually average about 50 views a day. And it's hard for me to get above that. Okay. So I'm looking on my other computer. I've got 13 views on this live out of body experiences. So what else is going on? He's only 10. Planes were in the sky with, you know, the extra money they sent out was pretty cool. I haven't seen my money. I never got a check. But I pay my taxes quarterly and run a balance so that it might be applied to what I work on as an LLC, filing quarterly. What city are you in? In Houston, the sky's always clear and we don't have that many chemtrails. Sometimes we do, but I haven't seen any chemtrails for a long time around Houston. I actually have my own theory, if I was to say why. People talk about there being possibly a flood in the future where the Earth, if the Earth floods, how would that come about? Let's say maybe the Arctic shelf that's 2 miles thick above Antarctica, if that melts, then the oceans will rise 400 feet in elevation. So on every continent, on every shore, until you get inland up to 400 feet in elevation, all of those shorelines are going to be gone. And Houston is at sea level. Maybe I'm at about 35 feet right here, maybe 20 feet above sea level. So if it rises, and we're going to have tsunamis and flood coming here, and the new coastline for Texas is going to be Oak Cliff near Dallas, probably. That's where you get up close to 400 feet in elevation. So if you look at the future Navy maps, the U.S. Navy has future flood maps, and they've mapped the whole world and predicted a flood that will raise all of the world's oceans 400 feet. Do you know that I read a statistical figure in a military document that most of the commanders of naval ships and submarines that are retired, you know what state they live in? Missouri. Missouri has a lot of DUMBs, a lot of deep underground bases. And Missouri's at a high enough elevation where it's not going to be flooded, and it's rural enough where it's enough far away from any major cities. St. Louis isn't that big. But isn't it odd that the most retired naval commanders in population per capita of retired naval submarine and ship commanders live in Missouri? And they've moved there to retire. It's like they know something, and then they have these Navy future flood maps. So you ask, why does the government have Navy future flood maps? Just, have you ever seen the Navy flood maps? And have you ever wondered? And you can read about that. This is just a fact. It's not a conspiracy. It's just we can share this fact. If you look it up, look where all the retired submarine commanders live, and look at the Navy future flood maps. I think it's called the Navy's future maps, flood maps. Aurora Borealis, yeah. You know what I believe? If you look up on YouTube, there's a guy, I don't remember his name. Look up over unity electromagnetic generators. Over unity is the second law of thermodynamics, I believe. It says, like, if you've got a black box, a generator, and you put in 1 unit of power, you can't get 1 unit out the other side. You're going to get 82%, 84%. You're going to lose 12 to 15%, 16% with friction, noise, maintenance, parts wobbling, whatever. You can't put 1 unit of energy in a machine or generator and get 100% out the other side. You always lose something. So now if you put 1 unit of power in a generator and on the other side you get exponentially, let's say you get 1,000 units of, let's say you put a kilowatt in one side and you get 1,000 kilowatts out the other. What happened, all of a sudden you got over unity, unity being parity, 1 to 1. If you have a generator that takes power and produces more than you have, it's called an over unity generator. Now the way you make an over unity generator work, and this guy's done it, he's got videos on YouTube where he makes these generators that he runs a current one way and will spin like a spiral shaped piece of metal with contacts on it with like a brush motor. And then on the other arcing field that goes perpendicular, he'll have a higher frequency. And it will produce more power than goes into the generator. And he can actually loop it around and make the generator run all by itself and feed itself. So he's not only solved over unity and broken the second law of thermodynamics, but he can also create perpetual generator motion. And that is what I believe how the Earth works, because the Aurora Borealis is that flux. It's the flux capacitor. You know, that's a real term. Flux capacitor. Kombucha. I wondered. I'm having a couple of beers, but I'm not cooked at all. It's just lunch. Right. Stray Cat style songs, yeah. Oh, I used to rock this town. Gonna rock this town, rock it inside out. Gonna rock this town, rock it inside out. I'm on the wrong guitar. That's a classical guitar. Gonna rock this town, rock it inside out. Inside out. We'll rock this town, make them scream and shout. That's called a 1-5-1-4 12-bar progression. This is your 1 chord, B, and you go up to the 5 because it's the 5th note from B. Which is F sharp. And then you go to 4. That's 4. I used to do Stray Cat Strut. Oh, I'm trying to think different songs I played. Just the other day, I remember I heard a song and I thought, oh, I play that. I just whipped it out and started playing it. But like I said, I have this blank mind when people ask me like, oh, what do you play? Play something. And my mind just goes blank. And I'm like, I haven't, you know, especially if I haven't picked up the guitar for a while and I'm not going over a repertoire or a set list. But I can play anything I basically want to. Let's see. Let's talk about that. Yeah, so you've got your new computer. You haven't set it up yet, right? Oh, here we go. Everything is broken, Bob Dylan. Broken auto, broken sheet, broken in a I can't remember the lyrics to Bob Dylan. Everything is broken. Bullfrog's croaking. Yeah, everything is broken, baby. Yeah, everything is broken, baby. That's actually Kenny Wayne Sheppard's version of a Bob Dylan song. Open box opening music. I used to do La Bamba. Let's see. Did you finally open it? Necesito una copa de gracia por mi seré, por mi seré, por mi seré. Yo no soy marinero, soy capitán, soy capitán, soy capitán. Pa, 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 pa. for 181 bucks. Well, did you get Windows 10 Pro with what I wanted was WordPerfect? I mean, not WordPerfect. Word and Excel and PowerPoint. And I got the NVIDIA GTX 1050, which their latest one I think is the 1070 or 1080. So I got like technology that's only a year and a half behind for $479. And I could have built the thing myself. I build computers. I could have, but I didn't have an ATX motherboard. I didn't even have the box. I didn't have anything to start with. So I bought this one because from now on, I can upgrade this one that I've got to be everything I want. All I've got to do is upgrade the motherboard and put in more memory, or if I want a new NVIDIA card or I want to switch to Radeon, it's a mini ATX and it's a tower. So I've got everything I need as a basis. So that's why I didn't spend 181 bucks, and I decided the cockatiel loves La Bamba. The cats like bubble wrap. They do, don't they? Cockatiel. I've had cockatiels. I do also Linda Ronstadt. What was that song? Guantanamera. Guantanamera. Guajira Guantanamera. Guantanamera. Guajira Guantanamera. Yo soy un hombre sincero, de donde viene el campo. Yo soy un hombre sincero, de donde viene el agua. Y antes de morirme quiero que mi alma le dama. Guantanamera, Guajira Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guajira Guantanamera. That's Guantanamera. I sing songs in Spanish. I used to do Kid Rock. What was that song? I've been sitting here. The one with the auto-tune. And I used to sing the Eric Clapton and Sheryl Crow song. What was that song? I can't look at you while I'm staring at this picture of him, or something like that. You just got to give me a set list, dude. If I'm gonna play with other FEers or make an album or truthers, that'd be fun. I'll show up all set and rehearse. Just give me a list of songs and prepare my vocals, and then even we'll improvise from there. I just have to get warmed up, touch my guitar, get the chords down, know what we're gonna play more or less. I like to go like 60-70% ready. I don't like to have things 100% down pat every note I'm gonna play. I like to guess. I like to improvise. I like to have my basics. I know what key we're playing in, and I know what the rhythm is, and I know what I want to play. But I never play a song the same way twice. And I like it that way. I like the mistakes, and I like the thrill of going out. When you go out in the street and you just play, like when I was playing in Chile a few years ago when I was in Santiago, you just go out, and I would go into the subway tunnels and just sing, and I wouldn't even pay attention to people. I've literally just turned around and been playing, and turned around and seen the corner across the street, the crosswalk. All these people just came out of the university. There's like 350 people standing on the street corner waiting for the light to turn green to walk towards me. And they throw all this money in the bag. I was making hundreds of dollars a day in tips, and I lived in a high-rise downtown, right in front of the GAM Theater, if you look up in Santiago. And yeah, we could do FE birthday parties. Yeah, well, good luck with that computer. I hope you like it. I'm sure you will. But you'll be able to live stream. I think I've deleted a lot of videos today. I deleted a lot of videos that I had that were about immunity and vaccines or anything to do with Mr. Gates, or I just deleted all my commentary, anything I talked about, whether I think I know about it or not. It's not important enough for me to lose monetization forever or lose my channel. So I'm just going to continue to make videos and do things that I like and just change up the subject. Like, if I'm not just a dedicated flat earther, like every single video I put up has to be about flat earth, you know. I believe in that and I've studied it, but I don't have to talk about it or any other topic, you know. If you think things are run by conspiracies, you can have those beliefs. You don't have to share them every day. You might present something or have an opinion on something in the news, but if YouTube tells me they don't want me to comment about something, I just will stop. I might not agree with the agenda theory behind the whole censoring of all that, but it's a private company. Well, it's public actually, but it's a company that has a platform that can make decisions of what goes on their platform. But it's actually a good platform in that it's a search engine driven platform owned by Google. So if you stick with it, I should become a better film producer, editor, video maker. And I'm sure if I'm talking about subjects that are acceptable, I'll become a better host and presenter of things that will be more, I don't want to say mainstream, but I can present in such a way that I don't offend or I don't talk about things that will shock people. You know, if I put up videos where people are reporting me like, oh my God, this guy's talking about something bad and it's wrong. And it could actually be something in my wheelhouse that I know a lot about. It could be, you know, something from my university degrees or something I experienced personally or worked on in a lab. If it's going to offend people and I get 50% likes and it's going to drag down my likable average, and it's just not worth it. So I do follow what YouTube says, you know. Whether you agree or not, or you think it's agenda driven, it doesn't matter. Because it really reflects how the rest of the world feels. If I've seen where if you're presenting something that you know, even look at your own family. I mean, I don't know flat earth stuff. How does your mom or your dad feel? How does your sister or brother feel? Your neighbors? Are you ostracized? Are you made fun of? Do people say you're crazy? Or do people call you a conspiracy theorist? Might have to hook up a wired mouse. Yeah, I got a mouse with mine. It came with this cable. It's USB into my... Uh-oh, I hit the button. What did I do? There you go. Let me get back. What in the world? I just shut myself. I hit the back button. We're learning here. How do you get a video back? Because I touched the mouse and I completely lost the chat. You're probably watching me and still see me. What I did, I hit the button on the side of the mouse right there that makes you scroll through the videos to the ahead or behind. Maybe I'll hit another button. Hold on. Let's do it again. Let's go the other way. Well, I just lost the chat and I screwed it all up. So I think I'm going to end it here. This was fun. It worked. The chat worked. Thank you, Flat Earth Stuff, for staying with me. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your box opening. I'm sorry I can't do anything more for you or contribute to chat because I just hit that button on my mouse. I'm trying to show you my wired mouse. And I lost it. I lost the live stream. So I accomplished what I set out to do today. I got you on here and I got other people attending. And I've had, I think, 15 views of this, which is good. So I'm getting views. I was able to chat. I got my sound working. It's not delayed. You can see me and hear me. And now I know how it all works and I can come back and do it again. So now I can focus on having a subject and maybe some pictures and a topic for next time. and not have to ramble as much. And I'll have some songs prepared as well. So thank you for coming. I'm going to sign off now, and you have a great day. Please come back and see me again. I appreciate you. Bye-bye. Stopping streaming. Are you still there? I just got it back. Now I can hit end stream. You're probably listening to me now because it still says end the stream. I'm a concurrent viewer. You have to end the stream in video studio length. Okay, yeah. I'm back. It still says end the stream, so I'm still on and I'm still going. I'm still got a signal and excellent connection. I found it. You said later, you have to end the stream in video studio. That's right. So I'm going to hit end now. If you're still there, thank you, Flat Earth Stuff. I will check you later, and it was nice conversating with you in the chat. Thank you for helping me do my first live stream and learning how to work this new computer. And good luck with your new computer when you have it all set up. Hope you're using it next time. Bye. Anybody else still out there, have a great